Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today I want to talk about something that it's come up in the news circuit as of yesterday, although this film has apparently premiered a trailer on July 31st. I believe there's two trailers for it. I've seen one of them. Um, and that is the film The Hunt. Now, the reason why this is showing up is because Universal Studios' advertising department are fucking idiots, to put it bluntly. The fact of the matter is this movie is yet another example of Hollywood's Trump derangement syndrome, and there is a large amount of really, really politicized violence, among other things, in this film. And I will go over this in detail. And even though the trailer does not necessarily directly allude to certain things, there was an article that was put out by the Hollywood Reporter that seemingly confirmed a lot of things and used a lot of language that we are used to seeing in these type of scenarios. Now, why Universal did not immediately pull the plug on the advertising campaign for this film and move it back to some extent is beyond me at this point. I don't know why you wouldn't. And the reasoning behind why there was a lot of backlash to this is because this is a movie that is based around political violence. And this is immediately after the mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, Ohio, which it seems were both politically motivated. And again, I don't like getting into current events outside of the film industry, but a lot of the times these things do cross over. So if you're not interested in hearing any more about this, if you've heard all about it on the news and you've heard about this other stuff, then feel free to check out another video or something like that. But this is something that's relatively important, and it points out a very glaring problem with how Hollywood handles these type of events. And to go into it, The Hunt is a movie. The big star in it is Hilary Swank, and Hilary Swank, as described by the Hollywood Reporter, is a liberal, and basically she has provided this thing called The Hunt, which is where very rich liberals kidnap. What is, I believe, the direct quote was MAGA hat wearing bumpkins. Or deplorables or undesirables, to participate in some form of a human hunt where they hunt down and kill these people. Now, this is literally a movie where liberal individuals arm themselves, kidnap people of a what is described as a different political view, put them in a game reserve, and then kill them based on that factor. Uh, this is a bad look. This is a terribly bad look. And look, I looked up I looked up the director and the writers of this, and given their credentials, I'm not very surprised. Now, Craig Zobel has done a few things like this, mostly smaller things. Um, he's been a writer on a number of TV shows and a director, but the big ones are the two writers, Nick Cuse and Damon Lindelof. Now, Nick Cuse and Lindelof are both also heavily involved in the Watchmen television series that is coming out for HBO, and that is another telling thing because because that series is riddled with political overtones, strong political overtones, bad political overtones. So this really bears no surprise that they would then move on to another project that bears very heavily with their Trump derangement syndrome. Now, moving past that, we have the actors and the actresses. Um, Again, none of them really stand out to an extreme extent, other than Hilary Swank. But this was a bad look for Universal. This was actually an extremely bad look for Universal. Now, here's the thing. This film has been in development for, usually the development cycle for a film like this is probably at least 13 months from inception all the way through filming and post-production. It was dated to come out in September, so it probably began in August of last year, I would imagine, something like that, at least. Probably greenlit maybe even a month or two before that. So the fact of the matter is that this film did not directly cause anything that's related to either of the two mass shootings. Anybody who's pushing that narrative is kind of okay. You need to put on the brakes a little bit. This film did not cause anything, but here is the major problem, is that after both of those things happened, you should have seen that this was a property that needed to be put on hold for a little while at least. You know, studios do this all the time. They take a film that maybe they don't think is good to come out right now, or maybe the actor in it isn't that famous, or maybe they know they're doing something big, and they will shelve that. They will shelve that movie for 2 to 3 years, and then they'll release. We saw that with the release of the remake of Red Dawn, which sucked, by the way, with Chris Hemsworth, because he had gotten the role for Thor, and I believe 2012, the very next year, they put out this movie, or maybe late, even late 2011, they put out this movie Red Dawn, that the remake that had him in it. We've also seen it recently. There's a film with Daisy Ridley. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was very obviously filmed before 2015. And and now that she's been in Star Wars and stuff, now they're releasing it because, she's famous and they can get more people to go watch it because there's a very famous person in it. Um, that's what they should have done. They should have cut the advertising campaign and they should have shelved this thing. They should have said, okay, you know what? We're going to release it. We're not going to release it right now. We'll put it somewhere else. And they didn't. They chose to keep it out there, and the advertisements ran anyway. Your your PR department is working overtime now because your advertising department are a bunch of morons. And it would not surprise me that heads rolled today at Universal Advertising because of this colossal fuck up. This is a bad look. This is an extremely bad look. And look, if people want to debate, the political rhetoric of the film, just look at the original working title for it. The original working title was Red State versus Blue State. Can you be any more on the head with that? You're not hitting me with a sledgehammer anymore. You're smashing my face in with a wrecking ball. That's how heavy-handed you're being with this type of thing. And we can't expect subtlety from these type of people anymore because they're done with being subtle. They're done with attempting to make something that has a minute political allegory, but something that can be translated into a greater meaning. No, now it's just Orange Man bad over and over and over again. And this is the fuck up that resulted from that. This is the problem that Hollywood has, is that you need to understand that when you push stuff out at a high enough rate, when you push the same message over and over and over again, and you just keep going and going and going, that's going to align with real life eventually. Now, I don't think that anybody that was involved in this film wanted people to go out with rifles and kill other people. I don't think anybody that's made, well, maybe some of them, but most of the people that have made films don't want them to inspire other people to go out and murder people. That's an argument that's been made over the years for films and video games and a number of other mediums that they inspire people to go out and do violence against other people. I do not believe that is the case. I think you need to have a seriously mentally deranged person before any of that other inspiration or anything takes place, and you need to have it be in a situation where nobody is there to check them and nobody is there to stop them. And it all starts at the mental health of these individuals as opposed to the media that they are consuming. Now, does the media that they're consuming maybe compound the problem? Maybe in a sense, but it cannot be pointed to as a direct cause. Mental illness is more of a direct cause. And this type of stuff right now is not good. Hollywood has done this type of thing before. And keep in mind, this is not just because I'm from Massachusetts, but the movie Patriots Day with Mark Wahlberg, I believe it came out 2 years after the Boston Marathon bombings. I believe it came out in 2015. I could be wrong, but I believe it was 2015. That's way too soon. You started making this movie a year and a half. You were filming a year and a half in the same neighborhoods where those guys were driving through and shooting at cops and throwing bombs out the windows of their cars. You were shooting at the places where bombs exploded and maimed and killed people. I'm sorry. You need to just leave it the fuck alone. Stop doing this shit. Leave issues like this alone. Leave issues that could cause real life violence. Leave them alone. Stop pushing this rhetoric. Stop pushing that it's art. We're honoring the people. No, you're not. What you're doing is you're trying to make a buck off of tragedies. And the if because the advertising department didn't pull those ads right after the Dayton shooting, they look like they were trying to capitalize on bloodshed. That's what it looks like. Even if that was not the intent, which I honestly don't think it was, because no sane person would do that. Uh, it makes it look that way. It makes it look like you're gonna put the advertisements out for this movie when every news organization is running 24-hour coverage of these things, and it's a bad, bad, bad look, and I hope this thing gets buried. I don't hope they release it. Hope this thing gets shelved indefinitely at this point because there is so much PR damage that has been done to Universal Studios because of it. And the people that are up top should have known better, and they should have, as soon as these things happen, they should have said, okay, if we have any properties that have anything that might be construed with what just happened, we should immediately cut the advertising and shelve them for right now, unless it's something incredibly huge that we can't avoid. That's what a morally sane person would have done. But because these people are either lazy or they don't give a shit, they just let the ads keep going, and as a direct result, the public came out and said, "You need to remove this. This is terrible. We just suffered two major national tragedies. You need to remove this." But the film itself, in and of itself, is meant to inspire animosity between groups. It feels like a fantasy. It feels like a violent liberal fantasy, and honestly, it's something that I don't think it should be made because of shallow story reasons. Because anytime you hammer political allegory to that extent, it never winds up being a really good story. And if it does, it's a story that's literally based around politics. It's not, oh, we're using this as an allegory for this, and we're using rednecks as an allegory for Trump supporters, and rich people as an allegory for liberals. And that's what it comes off as, is these writers wrote their wet dream liberal fantasy of shooting Trump supporters. And it's, again, I'm not saying that that was their intent necessarily, but that's how it comes off, and it comes off that way to a lot of people. And I think that Universal needs to take a step back. They need to examine what the hell went wrong there, why their advertising department didn't catch this thing, and they need to fix a lot of the internal issues that they're having right now involving that, because there needs to be heads rolled. And again, I don't know if anybody was fired today. I would assume there somebody was, at least one person. Um, but this is just something that is disgusting. It's a major misstep for the film industry, and it honestly shows a lot of the scummier parts of the industry in terms of the way that these people think and the way that they operate and the way that they don't really. It doesn't appear anyway that they care about others. So again, those are my thoughts on this. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Put them in the comments below. I like to know what you're thinking. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button. Subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?